build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. Hello everybody, welcome to Longbangers. This is, I don't even care what episode it is, but we're talking about Hibs and Rangers tonight anyway. Joined tonight by Colin and John. Colin, how's it going?
Good. I'm just, I'm all right. I've had a good day. Good weekend.
Good. And John, how about you?
I'm not bad. I'm just wondering whether we should start again where you get that splitter and then everything else at the way. It's episode 166, by the way.
166, is it? Right, thanks very much. It's just as we started, and you'll not hear at the start of this, but I just kind of burped just as we were about to kick off, and then just went straight into the intro, which caught us all by surprise. Anyway, right. Agenda for tonight. So we'll have a wee quick chat about Saturday's game, eventful as it was, and then we'll go to Colin to cover off the voice of the people. Which is all the talking points from Twitter, and then we'll do our Longbangers Sunday night quiz. It's 2-1 in the series to Colin at the moment, so an opportunity for John to go back to 2-2.
I'm happy just that I'm not getting grannied anymore.
Well, it's a start, isn't it? And then we'll quickly preview the St Mirren game. In extra time, if you're a subscriber, the extra episode you'll get, we're going to be looking at Lee Johnson's best 11 or formation, how he fits Cadden in, and then we'll look at the 4 games that have gone and the next 4 games coming up to see what we think will happen or what we need from those games. So, quite a lot to be going on with. Colin, I'll come to you first, just as a sort of an overview of the game on Saturday. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was a good game. I thought I was a wee bit disappointed in the end with maybe never won. Which was surprising to me because I didn't expect us to win before the game. But definitely better performance than expected. Obviously, the 2 red cards helped with that because it was just attack v defence, wasn't it? They just had 8 players and a goalie in their own half. But it was all right. Nice day. Saturday. I didn't mind the Saturday lunchtime game. It was all right.
What were you, John?
Happy with that.
I'd say that for the first 43 minutes of the first half, my pulse rate was bordering on comatose, and then it got a bit livelier after that. But all in all, it was probably a decent early afternoon of football. Like all in.
One of the most enjoyable games been it for a wee while. Well, actually, since the derby, the last home game.
I think just because in the first half, again, right up until that column decision that we'll get onto, I think both teams probably cancelled each other out. I don't really remember getting too excited about anything. And then, like I say, like afterwards, like everything kind of kicked off in the remaining 47 plus injury time minutes.
It's one of these quirky things, isn't it? That for a 2-2 game, Rangers scored 2 goals, but I don't remember Marshall having a shot to save. He's conceded the penalty and the header, but I don't think he had another save beyond that.
I think they had 2 shots on target that I presume were the goals.
Mental.
But no, Marshall was busy.
Do you think we were worth the draw in the end, John?
Similar to Colin, I think. So not just looking at the stats, but looking at like let's not forget that we were up against last season's Europa League finalists. And I thought that over the course of the piece, we were the better team. So cancelled each other out pretty much in the first half. Like, I don't think that we were overawed by them. I don't think that they looked better than us. And then in the second half, I thought that we were the better side, like started the brighter of the 2 sides in the second half, got the equalising goal. And probably to Hibs' credit, compared to previous games in that sort of hostile atmosphere, so I'm thinking back to the game against Hearts at Hampden when John Yo got sent off. It would have been easy for the Hibs players yesterday to get just a wee bit too excited and maybe find themselves down to 10 men or losing players themselves. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. So disappointed that we never managed to sneak the winner, but really happy that we kept the heat, stayed in the game, and just kept getting the ball in the box and create chances like right up until the final whistle blew.
It's a really good point about keeping the heat. Colin, I'll you get your thoughts on this as well, because with the referee in the sort of mood that he was in, it would have been very easy for us to have seen at the least somebody getting 2 yellows. Never mind like a straight red, because I think Porteous and Jake Doyle-Hayes were both lasted the 90 minutes and were both on yellow cards. Were you impressed with that, Colin?
Yeah. We said it so much in the game actually that like somebody's getting sent off the day early doors because they booked Henderson really early, didn't they?
Aye.
And then there was a couple of rapid after that, the Rangers player as well, and Doyle Hayes, I think. And you thought, somebody's off the day, like 3 bookings in the first 25, 30 minutes. No meaning, reds, straight reds. You know, I was thinking, there's got to be at least another yellow card here for one of them. And Porteous didn't made a tackle yet either. So that was another one you're kind of half thinking. But I was really impressed because even if you watch one of the red cards when Morelos, I think it's Morelos' one, as much as when they're in Lundstrom's face when he gets sent off Cadden and Porteous, tell him to get a fucking bitch.
How good was that?
It's quality. Quality, I love to see it. But the both of them done it. But when Morelos got off, Porteous went and grabbed Rocky and took him away. Not that Rocky was getting, but it was almost like, this gun's got to turn around and fucking try something, just get away from it, just because that's what he's got to try and do. So it was like, you've seen a wee bit, maybe hopefully a wee bit experience kicking in there.
Bit street smart.
This fucker's got to start something.
Bit of maturity and a bit of leadership.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I think I did see that.
Read it to him, yeah. Right, let's go to the big talking points for the game then, Colin. You take this section over. So the voice of the people, what have you got for us tonight?
Right, various sections. So we've got the performance section, the ref, the media, and we have subs, or what Johnson, the subs and various aspects that go along with that, as well as the miscellaneous section. Well, we just start with performance. Kind of makes sense, and then the others are branches off of that. So this is the biggest section anyway. So Beldam, Lascar, Charlie Mulgrew made that up. Stuart, 150k on Hanlon Hill, our short bangers contributor. Never seen him tweeting here. He must have been right up for it on Saturday. Parmaham, Parry, Dave Thompson, Lemon, and Logan Milne. Should we be disappointed with a point after having a 2-man advantage and battering them for the last 15? Chabraya really taking to him. He gets us. He's a player. Going to be a huge fan's favourite. We're getting better every game. Decent run of 5 games ahead. Motherwell and Aberdeen at home before Celtic away. Hopefully a minimum of 10 points are achievable. The Yuan Boyle partnership's coming along nicely and should produce quite a few goals this season. This is 150k on Hanlon Hill. What the fuck was RP? Ryan Porteous, RP's my notes. Doing passing back to Marshall before the penalty. He had time and chose not to put it into Rose Ed or play it into the left back position for it to be humped up the park. Smart arse, detrimental to the team. As much as I'm happy with the result, papers over the cracks and deflects from the fact our strikers can't score goals. Don't think Doidge is good enough, but his knockdown for Campbell's equaliser is what he's there for. He doesn't do enough in general, but if he wasn't on yesterday, we don't get the goal. And the last couple, I sat in front of a guy who slated Campbell from the off, all totally undeserved. I had a heated exchange with a guy. Looks like he's going to be my neighbour for the season. What's wrong with these people? Calling it out made no difference. How do we change these attitudes? And I think this was maybe a reply to that. There was also some absolute cretins, as they've called it, in section 43. There's no point calling out these types. They're not bright enough. You get a Campbell misplaced pass. They're screaming. Porteous misplaced pass. They're silence. I even heard one idiot criticise Hanlon after he went off. I think we've spoken about them plenty in the past. I think I've read them out, but it's almost that. We've said it before. There's no point in arguing with an idiot because they just bring you down to their level and beat you with experience. That's kind of, I get, like, I've thought about pulling folk up at the game before, but you just think, I'm just going to end up in a fucking fight and get sacked from my job or something here. There's no point. You just hope that enough folk are tutting and shaking their head that they just fucking move seats, like the boy that sat near me last season that every time Joe Newell touched the ball, moaned. He's not there now, so thank fuck. Anyway, main points there. What do you think about the pass back then? that Porteous played.
So
I don't think there's any problem with it, but I'll let you what you guys think.
I was just going to say that. So if that move plays out as it should have, and Marshall takes a touch and clears it up the park, nobody thinks twice about it. But it just wouldn't come into our thoughts. It didn't look like a risky pass back. The weight on it was good.
Yeah.
He's no like. I'm sure there was another pass back in the game that sort of it gave the Rangers striker a bit of encouragement to go after it. But again, Marshall was well in control of the situation. That one, I just thought he's almost like taking a bit of the option to help us build. Do you know, it's like Rangers are still up the park. You can get it to Marshall, and Marshall's distribution is fantastic. We might come on to talk about that later on. So you then have the opportunity to build while Rangers are still quite high up the pitch. But yeah, we'll talk about the penalty incident in a bit of detail after. But
I didn't want to spend too much time in the negative. It's just I've heard a few folk, and I've read a few folk saying that it was 150k who's a regular contributor, and I thought, well, we should really talk about it. But I don't know what you thought about it, John. The pass back, but
I don't think there was anything particularly wrong about the pass back, other than it put us in a situation where we were conned out of a penalty. A penalty was given against us incorrectly. I think like Matt's saying, Marshall was really good with his feet. So even the fact that I think his left foot is the weaker of the two, it's like a marginal weakness. So he was more than able to clear it the way that Porteous had played it back to him, where it was in the box and what have you. I don't think it resulted in the passage you play that led to the penalty, but I don't think that the ball backwards itself was a bad one. I actually almost think that it's a little bit clever because it kind of relieved all the pressure, because there was a congestion of players on the edge of the box. Didn't get me wrong, it was pretty risky, because it's one of those ones where you go, oh, did I fuck about there? Yeah. But he's turned back the way, taken all the pressure. He's played in Marshall, which we've acknowledged as who we've acknowledged as good with his feet. It just so happened that the Rangers players gone and ran after it, and Rocky Bashiri's played touch rugby with him.
Yeah, I don't think it was even that risky. Maybe passing back to the keeper is, but I think it shows confidence in the keeper, which we've maybe not seen for a few seasons, even with Rocky. So I don't think there was any. I think there was any issue. The boy was fucking 10 yards away from it. The boy was out in the penalty spot, not even close to it.
Yeah,
risky in the sense that if there was a Rangers player, if Porteous isn't aware of exactly what's going on around them, and there's a Rangers player that maybe gambles on it, that's where the risk comes for me. Mm-hmm. But like Matty said, the pass was fine. There was plenty of space, plenty of time for him to relieve the pressure on the edge of the box. It was fine.
Yeah. Other ones I was thinking. So there's a few about. So I'll be disappointed. We only got a point playing against 9 men.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I suppose this is my view. But when it went down to 9, when they went down to 9 men, in fact, when they went down to 10 men, we've got a chance here. But I think 10 men Rangers probably didn't change their system that much. They just drop a striker, but they're still dangerous. Right? They've got good players. When they lose Morelos as well, at that point they've got something to hang on to. They're just going to fucking defend, but they're good at that as well. So it's no easy, is it? You've got the advantage, but you're basically playing defence versus attack, and you're hoping you've got enough about you to score. And as it was getting later and later, I'm sure I put in the group, I was like, this is finishing 2-1. You could just see it. It was going to kind of peter out, and we weren't quite going to do it. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when Rangers went down to 10 men, they had at least one chance that they got a corner from. But when it went down to 9 men, I think it was pretty much they camped in their own half, which is really, really difficult to break down. It doesn't matter. It sounds bizarre that it doesn't matter that you have a 2-man advantage, because they are just camped.
Yeah,
you can't shift them. It's really, really difficult to get a goal.
You get plenty of ball and plenty of space out wide, but actually in the middle, the amount of balls that dropped in the middle, and it was one of them that were clearing it because they just had 6, 7 in there in the middle.
Yep.
But having said that, the goal probably came because there wasn't a extra player, because Campbell would have probably had somebody shutting him down sooner, I think. What about Right, so there's a couple here on the strikers, right? So criticism of Doige, apart from obviously the knockdown, which was excellent. Ewan and Boyle partnership, and the fact, as it's put, that our strikers can't score goals, and the results papered over the cracks.
Who are we saying are strikers that aren't scoring goals?
Aye, good question, eh? I think it must be Ewan and Doige.
Well, yeah, Ewan.
Boyle scored.
So
and Melkerson as well. He's not scored either, is he? So.
Nah, Ewan and Boyle are a hugely exciting partnership. I think that pairing. Actually, as we were on our way down to the ground on Saturday, and they'd been talking about the team had been released, and Boyle and Ewan were looking like a front two. I was sure if we could get in behind Rangers and be like either invite them on us a bit and create that space behind them, Boyle and Ewan could have run riot. And you saw it for the goal that we scored when Ewan did get in behind them. I mean, it was a good goal, but a fairly straightforward one. But he had the beating Tavernier on that side, cut it back to Boyle, who's got the run on their defender, and it's a goal. And you just saw glimpses, I think, of how good they could be because they're fast. Ewan looks really, really tricky. Boyle's really, really dangerous. So it's whether they play as a two or you have that third person in, whether that's Doige or somebody else. There's tons of potential there to think about. What about you, John?
What about me? What do I think about
those two? Boyle and Ewan, yeah.
I know that. See, there's wee snippets. I think I've maybe mentioned this when we've talked about games before, of like things that you see, things that your attention should maybe not be on. But I think, if I remember correctly, Ewan, after he squares the ball and after Boyle tucks it away, there's that like sort of knowing glance, like there's an appreciation between the two of them. If you've ever played football yourself, or if you've ever played any sort of sport, when you do something, when someone is on exactly the same wavelength as you, it's a beautiful fucking moment.
Yeah. And
that kind of leads me to believe, so they've only been playing together for what, 2-3 weeks? So just that, there must be, like, I don't think, this is going to sound daft, but I don't think you necessarily need to speak the same language to be on the same wavelength on a football pitch. Like, you just need to do the simple things. Like, so you were saying there, like, Ewan getting the beating of Tavernier, and he's got around the back and he just cut it. He just knows that Boyle's going to be in that space. And it's it sounds daft as well, but you can't teach that. You just have that intrinsic understanding of where your strike partner's going to be.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, to go back to the original question about like papering over the cracks about strikers not scoring goals, Doige didn't score, but actually the three of them, Boyle, Doige and Ewan, have all been instrumental in salvaging points for Hibs yesterday. It's not always just about the scoring of the goal, it's about the contribution for the strike partner or strike third.
Do you think as that relationship that Ewan and Boyle grows, there will be a point where Boyle writes him a poem like Ryan Giggs did?
They're amazing, aren't they? Absolutely fucking outstanding.
We could maybe write one ourselves. Like, what do you think rhymes with Ewan? Oh no, sorry, I can't, because that was
you're going to start singing that. Amazing. Brilliant.
It's just a poem about it. Fucking hell. Writing a whole tune.
I'm just that excited about this partnership.
He went and got his guitar.
Get the guitar. If I'd remembered, because like it was Craig that sometimes on the podcast had said you need to do that poem to the sad music, and I wish I'd remembered to prepare it, because we would have done that. It would have been fucking funny. Anyway,
You're also going to present the podcast in a AG style. How many podcasts have we done? 166? Right, what's the 166? What kind of
that was fucking mental last night. It's very obviously, like, I know you watched it, Colin, if you were messaging. John, don't know if you saw the boxing last night.
I did not.
So the boxing was pretty uneventful, right? But again, Anthony Joshua pretty much got schooled by Usyk. But at the end, it's just like Anthony Joshua behaved exactly like somebody who'd just taken several heavy blows to the head would behave.
I think I said the doctor needs to get hold of him. I think that was one of the messages, because he's clearly fucking concussed or something. He's fucked.
Aye.
I never saw the fight, but when I saw the footage of it this morning, I tweeted my mate to say it's the first time that I've ever watched someone throw in the towel after the fight had ended.
That would be
Embarrassing, eh?
Somebody,
He was like chopping and changing his mood. It was like he was gone mental. It was hot. It was all fine. Ukraine flag and that. Then he was fucking chucking belts at the ring. Then he was storming off and a half. Then he was back in telling him, "How the fuck did you beat me?" And the next thing he's on the microphone giving him a Paris. What the fuck are you doing?
crazy. They were somebody had put it to the tune of "Dry Your Eyes" by the Streets as well, which fit it perfectly.
Amazing.
Fuck, how did we get to that? Anyway, right. Was that for
Talking about that?
Ryan
I think
Giggs?
that's it. Just what Ryan Giggs, but what John, I was going to say exactly what John said, but not as eloquently about the partnership, because I mean they only played together about 15 minutes and they were doing 1-2s and scoring equaliser against Hearts. So the potential of that partnership is amazing. I think.
Well, we're thinking about you, just while we're talking about him.
I'd like to make it a goal.
Yeah,
I think he's due a goal.
Get that monkey off his back. Yeah.
There's been a couple of wee opportunities that he's had where he's managed to get the ball out from under his feet. He's beat his marker, got the shot away, but the keeper's managed to save it. Or I think one yesterday, I think he had a crack at goal for a pretty tight angle. But he was obviously going for like the sort of top corner of the net, and he's put it over. But I think there's definitely goals coming from him.
I think I like him out wider as well, though, rather than through the middle. I'd like a new, you know, who I would have liked, or who I would like is, and I don't know who he's playing at United, but Stephen Fletcher with Boyle and Yuan right and left off of that would be. I think that would be.
They both seem to be sort of natural in that role in terms of their speed, their skill, and their stature. Because they're definitely like the size of them. They're not strikers that play like like a typical sort of number 9. So like a Melkerson or a Deutsch, for example. So they're definitely better suited being outside, like driving into the box. And to be fair, like Boyle does that really well. And the early signs for Yuan is that he's more than capable of that role as well.
And maybe
we do have Nisbet coming back, who I predicted to be our top scorer in the predictions. Which I'm thinking now Boyle's back, it's probably fucked. But I think looking at it, that was probably no bad fucking guess, because it doesn't look like we're going to score. It might be spread out a bit. Each getting a few, and then Nisbet comes back in December or after the World Cup or whenever it is, and goes in a wee run of 10-15. He could be top scorer.
Nisbet's a good shout, because it definitely, what we're talking about, you've got two players who look really effective and really dynamic and exciting, and Boyle and Ewan, and just now we've got Deutsch. Like when Deutsch came on, he's just really struggling just now, right? And I think it's probably, you only can tolerate that for so long before you say, right, actually we need to look at another option now, and we're probably approaching that point with Deutsch.
2-3 yards off it.
Aye. You've got Melkerson who could come in, but again he still looks maybe a wee bit shy of being ready. But Nisbet is probably the one that, if when he comes back into the team, if he can find the form, then
we need a 6-month loan. Then we need a loan to the window, the January window, till he's back, because I think we're massively missing there, in my opinion. But do you want? That's enough about the Johan and all that and Boyle.
Yeah.
The next one I think that links on quite well is the subs he made, and other stuff. So Chilla Mulgrew, I think she made that up. Spiky L Zero, Dave Thompson, Chuma Cabbage. I like the way the manager realised the formation wasn't working early doors and wasn't afraid to make an early double sub. Why does Deutsch continue to get selected? Johnson done well to change it early, but was the Bojang sub too late? An extra body in the box would have been magic. And then there's another one there that we're going to take. I think this was Dave Thompson's one. We're going to take in extra time, like you said, which is, does anyone else think that Lee Johnson's constantly searching for his best 11 and or system, a bit like Lennon did before it clicked? I like the fact he makes early changes. In the past with Jack Ross, for example, he wouldn't have made those changes, as it was like an admission of picking the wrong team. What do you think of that, John? Any of them you want to pick up? I think we don't need to touch the Deutsch one. I think we all know he's not really recovered for that injury properly, and he's about a yard, 2, 3, maybe even behind the pace when the ball's going across the box. But what about the subs he made early? What were you thinking at the time?
the subs that he made were really, really surprising. Like I said, I thought that the first half was pretty dull in terms of both teams cancelling each other out. I know that some folk that I spoke to thought that there was a wee period maybe towards the end of the first half where Hibs were a bit shaky as a result of the substitutions. The substitutions made me think just how much we miss Josh Doig, particularly when we're playing Rangers, and weirdly, I thought that bringing on Chibraya for Hanlon, it was going to push Tavernier back a bit, but actually Tavernier seemed to get forward a bit more. I think it was the right call to take Henderson off because he was booked in the 17th minute. I just remember because I looked up at the clock at the time thinking, Christ, that's early, like we've got a long way to go here, and it kind of echoes what you were saying about sendings off and what have you. But I think Henderson, he'd had that one challenge where he got booked. I think he'd had a couple of maybe clumsy ones after that. And I remember Marshall had a word with him, whether he was having a word with him about his challenges or whatever, but I remember there was almost like a wee bit of not quite a shrug of the shoulders, but like what the fuck do you want me to do kind of gesture for Henderson. What was I going to say? I think, did we bring, was it Doig for Henderson? And it was Hanlon went off for Chibraya.
Yeah.
I think Doig was maybe, I wonder if that was more of a formation change than anything else, because I thought at that point, I think we'd been humping a lot of balls forward for Boyle and Yuan, and with the best will in the world, and they put their best effort in it, they just weren't getting onto these balls. So I thought getting someone up there that might get their head on it was probably a good idea. And as I said, like I
think we started 3-5-2, and then that went back to the sort of standard what we've seen all season formation.
Aye, but then I think when was Josh Campbell playing almost like a sort of left wing back, and then Chibraya replaced Hanlon at the back of three. Like it seemed a bit weird. So I think we were maybe a wee bit, I don't know, maybe went a wee bit more compact in that first half, and it changed a little bit second half, but possibly because of the sendings off the Rangers had. It was certainly an interesting substitution. It probably reflects what they were saying about like previous managers that we've had, where it's almost an admission of guilt that they've got it wrong, so they just persevere with something that's clearly not working.
However, I mean, I said to Charlie that I sit beside that whatever happens here, like so it is brave. It's brave either way. It's not just brave if we get the result. It's brave to make the decision. But the difference is if we don't get a result, and if we do get a result, because he got the team wrong in the first place. That's the criticism he would get. But I was going to say got away with it. He never got away with it. He changed it and it fucking worked. Somebody's mic's crackling. Like I don't know who's it is.
Oh, quite possibly mine. I quite like that he made the substitutions. I liked what he said after the game when he was saying why he made it. I don't know if you heard his BBC interview. Where basically he said we want to do what he wanted us to do. We weren't playing like he had said he wants us to play, and he wanted us to be more offensive and press them a bit more. And I just liked that he gave it half an hour or whatever it was and went, fucking that's not working. Let's change it and then go after the game. So I almost think that even if the change doesn't quite pan out, the fact that he's gone, that's not working, so I'm not going to persevere with it, but I'm going to make it clear to everybody that that's not what I'm wanting to see. So I'm going to do something about it and try and affect the change. I was quite impressed with.
Do you find it refreshing that Lee Johnson's come out and said that? Because I don't remember any of our previous three managers in the last 6 months ever saying that.
I thought his comments after the game were terrific. And I can, like, it's very easy to get sucked into these things when you reckon within the win, but when you have a result or a positive result, which Saturday's undoubtedly was, you can kind of get carried away with what the manager's saying. It's very easy after the event as well when it has paid off for the manager to come out and say, "Oh, I did this because of that reason," and whatever, because they've got the benefit of it having paid off. Whereas if it hadn't worked, they might have said Hanlon was injured or Kenny was struggling a bit. There could have been another reason that he threw at it. I can't remember, Colin, if you've got the manager's comments down as one of the talking points.
No, nobody mentioned anything about it, but they were good. I mean, even about the decisions that we'll come on to. I think he nailed them as well.
But he said he wasn't happy, and how often would you have seen like most of the managers we've had previously would have said they were happy with how that game went. And by the end of it, but getting the goal at the end and become away with our result against one of the two best teams in the league. But he said he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy, and explained what he wasn't happy about. He explained what he did to change it. He was very honest about the decisions that we benefited from or suffered from. I just thought it was really refreshing. I thought it was the first time I've actually kind of properly heard the manager put down a marker since probably Lennon. Lennon tried it a couple of times to do it, but Lennon also went too far the other weekend. Like after, we didn't get second when he lost at Tynecastle or drew it. I can't remember whether we lost that one or drew it. But when he changed the team and basically shat the bed, and then he chucked all the players under the bus. Mind, he was like fucking slaughtering folk for wearing the wrong boots and and then he went missing for fucking 2 weeks. Anyway, it's not about Neil Lennon, but it's the first time, like, remember, really that bar being set to say, actually, that's not good enough. So I'm going to do something about it. And
I just felt it was the sign off an experienced manager who's comfortable that he knows what he's doing. Like we've said before, when he speaks, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And I think that's just a signal of it. That I am going to make fucking changes and it's my problem. It's almost like, just fucking blame me if it doesn't work.
Aye.
He's not looking for blame. He's taking responsibility and he's willing to sort of fall on his sword, if you like, if that's what happens. But I didn't. So, what about the Bojang sub? Too late.
Yeah.
Do you think? Yeah.
I think
it was an injury time, wasn't it? It was actually when the board went up.
It could have. I think when you see, sorry, John, when you see the Rangers weren't really that interested in coming out of their half, you can sacrifice the defender and just go like chuck another forward on as he did eventually. Yeah, it probably could have come a bit earlier.
Yeah, I agree. We had spoke about it actually. Would you take? We were thinking Rocky because Porteous is always good for a goal. Well, I say always. It used to be at youth levels and that, and he still chips in now and again. And I thought he would take. I thought it might have been Rocky that would have went off rather than Porteous as it was, but I would have done it 5 minutes earlier, maybe. John, what do you think?
No, I've got no particular thoughts to it. Like you say, it's a little bit similar to the change in the first half. Kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Like he got arguably one sub right and another one wrong, but it's his responsibility. And like it didn't work out. Like there's nothing to suggest that Bojang was going to come on and score and be that difference in getting the goal. And we did get the goal in the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when I was saying taking Rocky off, I was even thinking about at the time when we were talking about it, just chuck Porteous up. Like just get on the end of something.
Yeah,
because he's good in the air. Right? He's quite good at attacking a ball, like we've seen in the Aberdeen game last year. Just stuck him in the fucking box because we don't need him out there, right? Because they were just knocking it like for the two wide men back to the centre half and rounding about, weren't they? Trying to find a space to get a cross in. So get him in there for the cross. Anyway, right. Well, we go the ref before we do the media.
Aye. Let's talk about the referee.
I think it goes in that order based on some of the comments. So,
I wonder if you can lump them into the same category. I've got my own thoughts on that, but
I was going to, and then it became fucking too big. So
let's do ref.
Two, and it breaks down. So some of them do link with each other though. So Pat Fry's image, Charlie Mulgroom, I think she made that up. David McNiven, Stuart McGregor, Keith Robertson, Susan, and Craig. Refs make decisions that allow them to go for the milk on a Sunday morning with minimum hassle. It's not conscious, but it's baked in. Column is hopeless and inconsistent. We should have had a penalty to go with theirs. Doyle Hayes should be off. If Lundstrom's was a red, he's saying I'll take it. Should have been 6 or 7 minutes injury time and we may have won. Only thing he got right was the Morelos red. Discuss. There'd be a foul every 10 seconds if the ref gives fouls where players are grappling, blocking or holding off the ball, and that was well off the ball yesterday. What difference would VAR have made? This guy, who I think is maybe Stuart, thinks that we don't get the penalty. We wouldn't overturn the Rangers penalty because it's not clear and obvious. Lundstrom would only be a yellow, Morelos would be red. And he asks, would they have reviewed Jake Doyle Hayes? He says it's a yellow all day, but ... Penalty shout, our one this is. What's the rules regarding change of contact? Does contact made by the last player negate all others? And that's kind of some of the argument the radio were trying to make a wee bit, I think, at times yesterday. Rocky was excellent, but should know not to put a hand on the player. The player threw himself down like he'd been shot, but he still put his hand on him. And finally, Tav has a hold of Rocky's jersey before the contact with Hanlon. Also think the contact started just outside the box. So if anything, it should be a free kick.
So I think the rule on that last one is that if the contact continues into the box, you give the penalty.
Aye, it was at one point, definitely the rule. Yeah. So we just take the decisions in order rather than fuck about talking about they're all getting at the same thing.
Yeah.
So penalty
For
Rangers. 43
right.
minutes.
Never a penalty. So this is my view on it, and it's a hill I will die on it. I listened to the Sports Sound podcast earlier on from talking about it yesterday, and I've watched Sports Scene, and you've got, in my mind, you've got pundits justifying a player cheating, right?
Yeah.
So Rocky touches the boy. That's all he does, is he touches him. He puts his hands on him. He's no put his hands on him and pulled him. He's no put his hands on him and given him a two-handed shove or even a one-handed shove. He's touched him. Now, that's not a foul. But by any description, it's not a foul. The boy's thrown himself down to the ground and bought the penalty, right? So I don't think Colum's seen it. And what has happened is you get a narrative now in the game, which is fucking mental, where they go, oh, Bashiri's given the referee a decision to make. As soon as he's making the contact, the boy's entitled to go down. And you go, it's fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
Kenny Miller said he gave him the opportunity to go down.
Aye.
That's what Kenny Miller said.
Which is nonsense. Now, if you're going to take touching somebody, a light touch, or even a fucking heavy touch, you're going to get a free kick every throw in. Right? Every throw in, because the ball comes in and
touch tight becomes a not a thing anymore.
That's it. So you can't touch me. If that ball's coming, thrown over at me and I'm jumping up to header it, you can't touch me when you're jumping up beside me. If you're running alongside me, you can't put your hand on me, because that then becomes a foul. All the corners or the free kicks where the ball's getting lumped into the box, nobody can touch anybody because either a free kick to the defender or it's a fucking penalty. It's ludicrous, and I know it shouldn't really come into it, but it normally does. The player's got no chance of getting the ball. So see if that ball's running out for a goal kick, and the boy chucks himself down. 9 times out of 10, the referee go, fuck, he's nowhere near anything. It doesn't matter. Just play on. It's just like a coming together. I just thought, I can't get my head around how there's a narrative, and even the fact that they're comparing the one that we never got to that one is absurd. They're totally different. One's, you look at what Tavernier's doing to Rocky, and the one that we should have got.
He's pulling him.
But he's proper 2 hands pulling him down.
Yeah.
Rocky can't jump up for the ball, and fair enough. And I think to give the referee a bit of an out, Hanlon coming in at the back of Tavernier probably makes the referee go, oh, they're all at it, so
aye.
I can play on it, right?
And that's been mentioned there a couple of times, like, is that negating all that? I don't think it does. I think it just confuses the visual. Spot
on, yeah. I think it confuses it, doesn't negate it, because actually the first foul is the one that counts. It's like if there was a handball, and if Tavernier had handballed it but Hanlon was pulling him, then it's the free kick for the pull, no for the handball that would it would go. But there's no, it's a false equivalence. There's no, if that's a penalty, that's a penalty. Rocky's one is never, the one that he's punished for or penalised for, never a penalty. You're allowed to touch players if you're no foul.
As much as we're criticising, we've not done the media yet, but the sports scene did say neither of them's a penalty. The Hibs one's more of a penalty than the Rangers one is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was nice of them.
Mickey Stewart said. I think that was the conclusion Mickey Stewart drew in the end, because he said it's not a penalty, whereas Miller's given it there. He's given him an opportunity and the ref had a decision to make. Which I must admit, when I was at the game, I'm going, why did they fucking touch him? We all ken how it works, so didn't fucking touch them. But that doesn't mean that I think it's a penalty. That just means didn't even give the referee the fucking choice here. It's like when a ball's coming near your hands, you put your hands behind your back. Just put your hands behind your back when it comes near you, because he's got to fall down.
That boy would have went down whether Rocky touched him or no.
It's a clear dive then, isn't it?
Aye.
There's no way about it.
Yeah. And it'd be interesting to see whether the compliance officer would go back. And this is the problem with the conversation that the media have about it, is if the media went, cunt's cheated, Like, he's put his hands on him, but he's chucked himself down. The compliance officer sitting going, "Oh, all right, what's trial by sports scene this week?" They
Yeah, but
go,
they shouldn't be doing that.
"No,
They should
I
be looking
can,
at a
I
neutrality.
can, they shouldn't, right?" But it becomes very easy for them not to consider that an option,
Or just watch the
an issue now.
highlights on a Saturday and a Sunday night and not bother doing my
Well,
fucking job. The boys
you-
at the terrace watch more football than them then.
Aye,
You know
but
what I mean?
you look at the club that's involved, right? And what the other point was there about the referees make the decisions so that they can go down and get their fucking rolls on a Sunday morning without getting hassle. Compliance officer and all the rest of it, we're looking at it going, thank fuck we didn't have to touch that one, because really we should be taking that boy up and giving them, because Rangers make no bones about it, they'll be appealing the Lundstrom red card, and they'll make a bit of fucking noise at some point about how the big injustice and all, the fans are on ready at it.
Aye.
So if they were there to go, you had the two
Well-
players sent off, but we're also citing this boy for cheating, can you
Yeah.
imagine that uproar? So it's very easy for them to
Yeah.
go, everybody thinks there was contact there and he was entitled to go down, so we'll ignore it.
I actually mentioned to you yesterday, John, but I've not said to you. There's Rangers fans, and Van Bronckhorst kind of alluded to it, I think, in it, or inferred it, that it's a penalty because he touched them and all that, right? Why is he not getting red carded? Rocky there as well, because he's no attempt at winning the ball, and you think, fuck me, these cunts are fucking warped. They've not got a clue.
Aye.
That was my thought when I heard it, but I don't know. Well, I don't want to lead you. I'm not leading the witness, but what do you think of that?
So who said what? Are they saying that Bashiri should have been
Rocky.
sent off?
Aye, because he made no attempt to win the
Fuck
ball.
off. I'm honestly like, it's fucking
And they're
stupid.
citing other examples to say, so that guy got sent off. He never tried to win the ball.
The whole thing's
Well,
fucking
Fortress
stupid.
was sent off last year, but he was almost trying to win the ball, and when he couldn't, whereas Rocky wasn't, the boy never had the ball for Rocky to take it off him. Marshall on it.
Aye.
It was like,
Absolutely bizarre. Honestly, like so I think you mentioned last week, Colin, or it was the week before about referees. It was maybe even the referee in the derby, how you sometimes go into a game with the mindset of like, oh, it's such and such, he's fucking shit. And then Colin goes and does what he did.
Aye.
Like Colin was fucking shit yesterday. He was absolutely. He was. How do I
where
put
was he
it?
shit though? So he gave them a penalty that wasn't a penalty, but that was the linesman that's given it, right?
Yeah.
He didn't give us a penalty that we think was a penalty, right? We've agreed on that, right? But we then said, maybe he's been clouded the view because of the handling sort of coming over the top of Tavernier there as well, right? Then the next one, I suppose, is the Lundstrom one, which at the game I was like, that's a fucking stonewall red card. He's absolutely scythed through the back of him. But I've seen it on the telly since. Colin didn't see it on the telly since.
That. So that one, be interesting. Do you mind was it a Falkirk player did it to McGinn? John McGinn one time and got a red card when we were in the championship.
So we were having a bit of
Hibs,
chat about these challenges for behind earlier. And one of them that I was thinking about in recent years was I think it was a Dundee United player at Tannadice went through the back of him again, just chopped him. Well, sorry, didn't go. And I think this is
There's a difference if we're going through.
There is a difference about chopping someone down from behind and impeding them. And I honestly don't think that there's that much of a difference between the two. Like Lundstrom.
So there is, right? There is a difference in the rules because Jimmy Carragher even tweeted tonight saying that will be a red in the future, right? But it's not now. Everybody knows it's not a red card now.
But that's like I honestly didn't understand. So you had that Porteous situation at Aberdeen where he's taken the Aberdeen player out from behind because he's not got a realistic chance of getting the ball. Lundstrom wasn't getting the ball. He's not made any attempt to get the ball.
So
it's a goal scoring opportunity there as well.
The goal scoring opportunity is the key part there. So basically, had Porteous had a realistic chance of winning the ball and gone and made the foul, he gets a yellow card. Because he's no got a realistic chance of winning the ball, then he's denied the goal scoring opportunity, and that double jeopardy thing doesn't come into play. He gets the red card. With Lundstrom's once at the game, I thought fucking red card, and I'd seen it once back, and I still thought red card because of the distance that Boyle had got from him with the ball, and Lundstrom's like clearly he's like in a different fucking postcode to the ball, and he's sort of gone in, studs are quite high, and all the rest of it. But I've seen it again a couple of times, and I'm probably more of opinion that it probably is under the current rules a yellow card.
100%. If you watch it today, shown by VAR in England, because Trippier done quite similar with a bit more force and probably higher than Lundstrom, and got the red card immediately. And I went, oh, you fucker, right? And then the VAR overturned it and said it's just a yellow. And it was probably worse than Lundstrom's one, because actually when you watch Lundstrom's one on the telly, he's just clipped his heels. It looked, at the game, I was shouting red card. I thought he's fucking clattered them. But actually,
It's fucking. I still find it bizarre that like Carragher talking about something that's going to be a red in the future. So that so it's a red card. The only thing that the only thing that stops it from being a red card at the moment is just a wee tweak in the rules.
Just the rules.
It's nuts.
It's not a wee tweak in the rules. It's a new rule. Like it's not a tweak. It's like
what I mean is like it just you change the words that says it's not a red to it is a red. But for like the challenge is still the same. Like it's a red.
Okay,
I think though that there is an argument to say it's violent conduct, because if you're only making an action to kick somebody, right?
It's tripping them up.
Tripping up, right? So tripping somebody up is an act of violence, right? Like you're not doing it to be nice to them, right? And he's doing it. Boyle's running at speed away from him, and he slid in to do it. Now, if you know I've got no intention of playing the ball here, the only thing in my mind here is to kick him to stop him breaking, then how can it be anything other than violent conduct? Like if you're only thinking I'm going to kick him, like to bring him down.
There's about 3 levels, so we've done the levels. I can't remember what they are, but there's reckless is the middle one. That's the yellow. There's something that's nothing, and then there's one that's like excessive force or something. That's a red.
That has to be so. It's excessive force then, because how can it not be excessive force? What level of force can you legitimately use in that situation on Boyle when he's breaking?
And that one you can't. That's how you can't get sent off.
Right. So anything above the legitimate bin becomes excessive. He's using more force.
Well, legitimately, you can trip somebody up. That's what I mean. Sorry, I picked you up wrong. There's no way to be excessive in that way unless you go in, because you couldn't have caught him to actually leg break him or scissor tackle him or anything like that, or go right through the back of him because he's not catching him. All he's done is trip him up. Same with Doyle Hayes when he took the boy.
So
as well.
I think the difference with Doyle Hayes one. And again,
Doyle Hayes has tried to get the ball. He's made a legitimate attempt to get the ball.
Doyle Hayes hasn't, but he's close enough to make it look like it could have done. And I think it's in the
angle. He's not directly behind him. He's nearer side on, but he's no side on. He's coming from behind into the side rather than behind to the back.
And it's almost like one of those ones that he's been beaten by the speed of the player. Whereas Lundstrom's not been beaten by the speed of the player. Lundstrom's lost the ball. The player's getting away from him. I know he's then going, I'm just going to fucking foul him. And that's what I'm saying, is like that has to be excessive force. If you're kicking somebody when that's your only option, then that's excessive force.
I think he really kicked him though. I just think he clipped his ankles.
I say kicking him, right? His foot went into Boyle, right? So he's hit him with his foot.
There's no way, but then I mean, Several they'll just get sent off.
Does it become excessive force when he's got no chance of getting the ball?
Aye,
like just purely by kick it, like by taking him out in the first place. That's excessive.
When the ball's but when the ball's not there to be played. Like if you
so that's what the rule should be, but it's not.
Aye,
and that's the argument.
Yeah.
And that's why he'll get overturned when they appeal it, 100%. Just like the boy got it done today.
Aye.
And just why nobody else ever gets sent off for it. There was 2 Ross County players done worse tackles yesterday and didn't get sent off for them.
The Callahan one for a start, I couldn't believe it. The boy's fucking jumped. He's about 3 feet off the ground, and I couldn't believe it wasn't a red card. It's one of the most blatant red cards.
Yeah. So I get, as I say at the time, I thought that's a red card, and then. So I can't say I can't criticise the ref for it because I was shouting for it.
Yeah.
And then I saw it back, and he's probably seen it back and went, fuck's sake, like he did the penalty, which is probably why he came out and was maybe
even it up
early doors, which I've always hoped for when we get dodgy ones. But I mean, I don't disagree. It should be a red card, but it's not.
But under the rules,
and I
agree with that as well. Having watched it back a couple of times, I think the yellow is probably what should have been given.
Interestingly, Ricky Foster, who I tell you is in America, was on Sports Scene Tonight. He's going to America because I've since Googled it. He's not there yet. And fucking, he was on Sports Scene Tonight. He was talking about this, and he never said Boyle, right? But it was after the Rangers Hibs bit, and he said players going down and yelping and rolling about in that. That's what makes the referee think about it. right? But funnily enough, he never then went on to talk about the penalty when the boy fell down under no contact. He only spoke about the one where a player did go down after being
being
tripped
kicked.
up.
So this is what I was going to say about like rolling up refs and media into the same category, because I can't think of many commentators off the top of my head, but let's say your pundits, your match pundits, so your Andy Walkers of the world, the refs and the Andy Walkers are just as bad as each other, because you had I don't know what he said about the penalty the Rangers were given, but in relation to the penalty that Hibs should have had, I think he said something on the lines of players are treading a thin line, like it's a dangerous art of defending or something. Like
Dangerous art of defending, that was it. Yeah.
what, by
Aye.
grappling him and hauling him to
I
the
don't
ground?
even know what that means.
Andy
I don't
Walker
think
doesn't
he
care
knows what it means.
It doesn't mean
So-
anything. That's why nobody knows what it means. Dangerous art of defending.
Aye, right. We're just conscious of the time. We talk about
Aye.
Morelos one next.
So, well, there's nothing to talk about. Everybody knows that was a red card. He had a wee feel for it and then he just smashed them.
Aye.
I don't know. I think everybody, even the Rangers fans and managers, even kind of admitted that. So,
There's a wee clip of him trying to dangle the leg out to trip somebody up
just before it.
just before it. He's only on like 10 minutes or something, and he's
The mental
Was it even
thing
as long as
is,
that?
I can't remember how long it was,
13,
but
I think somebody said
13.
in the comments. Because if somebody asked you to do 13 hip race, they come back to the hip race for every minute he's been on. But I mean, that was it. It's like, he's just a fucking liability, the guy. I mean, like, everybody knows it. Like, we didn't even have to noise him up. He came on and just fucking lashed it twice. Absolute fucking liability.
Splendid, eh?
Yeah. But it was just good he got done for it, because
Yeah.
he's got away with stamps and he's got away with niggly wee fucking
And
eggs in the pants, hasn't
elbows, yeah.
he? And then Pochers gets all the blame for it. I mean, they're as bad as each other in a way at times, but he has been the instigator so many times, and it's turned the narrative, the media narrative and all that, again, like we're coming on to, has been turned on it being Pochers' fault, when he's been sent off as many times as fucking anything else, like 13 times or 12 times he's been sent off
Something
already.
like that, aye. Some mental amount.
Like, I can't believe he's still there. Like, he didn't even score goals anymore. Like, so, right. So we come on in the media, right? So Davy Fallon Ellis in JK 1976. Thought Rocky was excellent, penalty aside. Media seem to love bashing him, though. I think this contributes to fan opinion of him, especially those fans that don't go to or watch many matches. There's a massive anti-Hibs thing going on in the media. They've had it in for us since sacking Jack Ross. If Lee Johnson had the start at Hibs the way Jack Ross has started United, can you imagine the reaction? Seems there's no criticism at all of Jack Ross. And I wonder if Mikey Stewart's still raving about how Hibs shouldn't have sacked Jack Ross now that he's been found out at Dundee United. But we've kind of, there was other comments that were linked to those ones about the referee as well. And I think we've probably covered a lot of them, but what do you think about the comment there about Rocky? So the media perception of him creates a negativity in the fan base.
I think we, as a fan base, created a bit of negativity early doors, which has also been picked up. I think there's some very lazy journalism and opinions formed around Rocky Bashiri. I mean, you look at, well, the Terrace obviously deleted their one. I think Hibs called out another podcast today for having a go at Rocky. He's been very good since he's come back in to the team. To the point, I'm no nervous about him. I kind of gave away the penalty, but I think he's very hard done by for that penalty, as we spoke about earlier.
He gave away the penalty in the same way that he was charged with whatever it was he was charged with by the SFA for his involvement in the administrative fuck up at Easter Road. Like,
yeah, and folk are making a lot of that, like dragging that into it as if that's like his fault.
Aye. It's just it's lazy, and I think it's.
He was playing left centre half yesterday, I think, for a lot of the game as well, which is interesting because Pochers has struggled there. I didn't notice Rocky struggling as much when he went over there.
He did fine. The whole media narrative and this thing about, since I'm sure Mikey Stewart still talks about us sacking Jack Ross as if it was like a cardinal sin and things like that. There's not We didn't seem to have very many friends in the media at the moment.
We don't have anybody on in there to represent us. That's the thing. For some reason, I don't know why. What it is, you know.
What you get is Aidy McGeady on his sick bag sitting in the Sky Sports box at Easter Road because he's the token Hibs representation, isn't he?
I never seen what he said, but my wife was watching the game on the telly and she says that he said at halftime it was a penalty.
Aye. Well, I don't think he came out and said that it was a penalty. I think he was questioning why Rocky put his hands on him. And to be fair, like I've got the same.
She's leading the fucking thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Aye.
I think the thing about Bashiri and Scottish football in general, like I think we all kind of revel in the fact that Scottish football is a bit mental at times with some of the stuff that goes on. So, like one of the most popular, let's say at least on Twitter anyway, is Old Firm Facts. And some of the stuff that he pulls up is phenomenal about some of the shite that goes on, like the really, really crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. So even just for like Ab's perspective, you look at like the coconut that ended up on the pitch at Tynecastle, just what the fuck is happening there? And I think with what happened with Bashiri, with him, you know, his loan deal ending and then appearing to have been signed accidentally has got that banter years quality about it. But that was last season. Last season at Easter Road was an absolute, you know, that was a banter year. Whereas the Rocky Bashiri that's been playing for Hibs this year has been solid and has barely put a foot wrong, if any. Yeah. And I think as Hibs fans, to echo your point, Matty, I think we've got a bit of responsibility to start championing guys like that rather than sharing in the negativity of what other people are doing. Like, hang on, fuck them, start talking ourselves.
Aye. Yeah. Like, we've got a miscellaneous section. I can rattle through it really quickly.
Aye, go through it quick because we're pushing for time here. We're getting into the feature length levels. Still with the quiz today.
Ian, the Legends of 73, Ed Norva, Neil, Craig Montgomery, Chuma Cabbage. The only way the timing of the equaliser could have improved was if it had come right in the middle of the rendition of God Save the Queen. Quote of the day from an 11 and 14-year-old at a corner in injury time. If I'm Lee Johnson, I'm subbing on David Gray from the technical area right now. Still believe I've got a chance of making it after seeing the Nicky Morelos yesterday. We need a number 9 desperately. Who should that be? Maybe come on to that in the extra time.
Yep.
What was it just me that got annoyed with the celebration for the equaliser? Wasn't much time left. The players should have been up and getting the game restarted as quick as they could. The point was the bare minimum we should have taken for the game. And just mentioning about McLaughlin booting the ball into the crowd, so nearly had the boy's head off 5 times, which it was fucking atrocious.
Josh,
any keeper we've had in recent times,
especially under the circumstances, where they really needed their keeper to be kind of finding one of their players with the ball, and he just constantly gave us it back through booting it out the pitch. Josh Campbell said he wasn't happy with the celebration with having the pylon because he wanted to get a winner. So whoever said that is definitely not the only person. Yeah. I was hoping the referee was going to add on.
Just shouting to get the ball in that as well. Because he was on the bench at that point.
Hoping the ref was going to add on a bit of time for the celebration because I felt we had a winner in us if we'd kept at it. And definitely,
if it was Hibs that were down to 9 men, he'd have been adding on as much time as he possibly could.
I'd still be playing now.
I think just to what we've not maybe covered was like Marshall, the confidence we've all got in him and how good his distribution is.
Yep.
And how good Josh Campbell was probably the other thing we've not covered there. But I think we did do it on the Twitter Spaces thing.
We did
last night.
But Campbell was outstanding yesterday. I think it's funny. So when we were going into the ground, my son Josh was saying Campbell's everything that you want for a Hibs player in terms of his work ethic and his fitness and all the rest of it, kind of, and put himself about. But he felt he was maybe kind of not quite as technical as he could be. But you look at the 2 Hibs goals come from moments of quality from Josh Campbell. One is passed to Yuan, and then another one is chest down and shot into the top corner. I thought he looked every bit a Hibs player yesterday.
Yep, he's good in these games though. He's been good in these games before. He's got to try and do it in the other games.
Aye. I think he suffers for getting moved about position sometimes as well. He's maybe too versatile. Right, we'll quickly go through the quiz. You got a pen, paper?
Aye.
Okay, there's some quicker ones because a couple of true or falses in here, right? So, question number 1: true or false? Nobody does it better. Right. Number 2: true or false? Alfredo Morelos' hairdresser is a right laugh. Number 3: teddy bears is rhyming slang for pubic hairs, and which football team? Question 4: Giovanni van Bronckhorst is a famous Dutchman. Can you name another? Question number 5: when ordering his chicken nugget Happy Meal, does Paul Hanlon choose the book or the toy? Question number 6: Lee Johnson has been likened to David Brent. What is the best episode of The Office? Question number 7: Martin Boyle uses hair product from the 1950s. True or false? Question 8. So this is a three-part one, or 3 answers for 3 points available. Which teams did Hibs loan Josh Campbell out to? And I'm looking for 3 teams there. Question number 9. What is the combined age of David Marshall and Aidan McGeady? And last question. Willie Collum's name is a bit like penis pillar. True or false? Right. We'll get your answers. I'll get the pen and mark down the scores. Right, question 1: true or false? Nobody does it better.
False.
I said true.
It's true. So
There's nobody like.
I don't know, but that's what the answer
Someone
is.
must.
It's what's written down. No, nobody does it. Number 2: Alfredo Morelos' hairdresser is a right laugh. True or false?
True.
True.
True. Teddy bears rhyme slang for pubic hairs, and which football team?
True.
True.
No answer on that one is Rangers. That was no points to either of you for
I'm
that
sure
one.
you said at the start of that question, though, true or false.
No,
Blah,
that one wasn't true or false.
Well, why did we both go true then?
I think again, you were maybe just in the.
You said true or false. You did. You said true or false. You
Oh, let's record it. All right, we just both say true.
Aye.
Right. Well, I'm going to give you both 9 points.
I said true and Rangers. Is it true and Rangers? Is what I said.
No, it's just Rangers.
Oh, it's just Rangers. Yeah.
So I'm going to give you both 9 points for that. Giovanni van Bronckhorst, a famous Dutchman. Can you name another?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Right, point each. Question 5: when ordering his chicken nugget Happy Meal, does Paul Hanlon order the book or the toy?
Yes.
Book.
Book.
I did say book. I wrote book down. As when I heard that again, I said yes. But
I'm going to give you a point each for that. Lee Johnson has been likened to David Brent. What's the best episode of The Office?
The one where Dwight pretends that he's Hannibal Lecter by cutting the face of a first aid model.
John,
well,
so
that's definitely wrong because that's American.
You've got a minus. It's a training day is the correct answer. John, you've got a point off for going to the American office since your default.
David Brent is in the American office though.
He is
on a technicality.
Where they meet each other. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
Martin Boyle uses hair product from the 1950s. True or false?
False.
It's true.
Is it? Because his hair's not from the 1950s, you know.
Well, his hair's no, but if you see how slicked back it was, and sort of, it stayed wet look, even though it was like really dry all the way through. So, right, number 8: which teams did Hibs loan Josh Campbell to?
I've got 2.
Who's your 2?
I don't want him to steal my answers.
You can do the countdown thing where you go, show you're working like that.
I've got it.
Fuck it, I've no shame. I've went Edinburgh City, Arbroath, and Civil Service Strollers.
I've just got Edinburgh City and Arbroath.
So 2 points each. A third one was actually Airdrie.
Oh, no shit.
combined age of Aidan McGeady and David Marshall?
I went 75.
I went 74.
73.
Fuck off!
Both wrong then, eh?
Both wrong.
Oh, so he's leaving like a closest one.
No, I never said that.
I define that. I'd have to say it. I define it. And then Willie Collum's name is a bit like penis pillar. True or false?
True.
That's true. Colin, what did you go for? I've already given you the answer. Okay. I'll say true, will I? Right, so John got 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Colin got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Scandalous.
7. 3-1 in the series to Colin. Right.
I had 9, but it's fine. As long as I win, I'm not bothered.
Aye. Very quickly, St Mirren predictions.
They had a good result yesterday, hammered Dundee United, but I think they've won 2 or 3 in a row. The commentator said they didn't do that very often. They're not going to do 4, are they? So we've got to get a result through there.
Okay.
Low averages.
What score then?
3-1.
And John?
It's going to be a pretty tight game, I think, but I'll go 2-0 Hibs.
Okay, we'll get a couple of goals and I think we'll keep a clean sheet, so I'll go with 2-0 as well, John. Okay, so just before we wrap up, just a wee reminder of what's going on coming up. So if you're a subscriber, you'll get us talking about Lee Johnston's team selection, best system, and a look ahead to the next 4 games on Extra Time. If you want to subscribe, go to longbangers.hubwave.net. We will also be back on Tuesday on Twitter Spaces. So this episode will go out. If you're not a subscriber, you'll be listening to this at the earliest on Monday evening. And Tuesday evening, for those who have listened, we'll be on Twitter Spaces. Come on and tell us if you agree or disagree with what we're talking about, or if you want to explore any of the points that we've made further. It's open to everybody, so come on, just join in the conversation. And then on Friday night, we'll be back on Twitter Spaces with a preview for the St Mirren game. And then post-match on Saturday, we'll be doing Quick Bang on Twitter. Again, as many views as possible. So if you want to come in and tell us what you thought of the game, just jump on. Follow at Longbangers on Twitter to get the details. And in between all of that, we'll have Short Bangers on Thursday. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no.